Feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of being a single parent? You are not alone. Welcome to Single Parent Reset, the podcast that helps you navigate the ups and downs of single parenthood and find the balance that you deserve. Whether you're a single parent, co-parent or solo parent, this is the show for you. I'm Orla and I'm a life coach for single parents and a single parent myself. I know how hard it can be, but I believe every single parent has the strength to create a life that they are proud of. For more information about me and the work that I do, please visit my website solascoaching.com. That is SOLAS coaching.com. In each episode of this podcast, we'll be shining a light on the unique struggles single parents face and cover the aspects of being a single parent that are often overlooked and left unspoken. I'll be sharing actionable steps to help you overcome these challenges and find more calm and fulfillment in your life. Single Parent Reset is your weekly opportunity to gain a fresh perspective, take back control, and feel more in charge of your journey. Do you ever feel stuck? Like single parenthood has put limits on what you can do. It's a feeling that so many single parents experience. That weight of responsibility can feel so heavy and even claustrophobic. But today, I want to flip that perspective. What if I told you that single parenthood also brings a level of freedom that you may not have even considered yet? In this episode, we're going to explore how to recognize that freedom and to truly embrace it in your own life. As a single parent, one of the biggest challenges you might face is the feeling of being constrained by your circumstances. You may often feel limited in your choices due to financial pressures, lack of time, or the demands of juggling multiple responsibilities. It's so easy to get caught up in the routine of daily life where it can seem like you're just running from one thing to the next. You might find yourself wishing for the freedom to pursue your passions, explore new opportunities, or even just enjoy a quiet moment to yourself. These feelings of restriction can be overwhelming, making it hard to see the possibilities that lie ahead of you. In this episode, we're going to shift that perspective and explore how single parenthood, despite its challenges, offers unique freedoms that can help you create your own life that you truly desire. We'll discuss how to recognise and embrace those opportunities and ultimately empowering you to take charge of your future and find the joy in the journey on the way. I remember it was the spring after I'd separated from my son's dad. And during spring, in my hallway, the light shines through in the morning and it's the nicest light that shines through, and it always reminds me that summer is around the corner. However, at the time, the hall was painted white, and it wasn't even a selected white, it was the white over the plaster white, because we'd never got around to actually deciding on a colour to paint the hall. And wear and tear was now definitely showing on this white wall as the buggy was being dragged in and out of the hall. And with this light of the spring shining on it, it was becoming starkly obvious that this wall needed a revamp. And I was looking at it and I was so frustrated, thinking, I don't even know what to do about this wall. It's so dirty. It's what people see when they come into my house. I don't know what to do. And then I realised, oh my God, I can paint the wall. That is in my power. I am able to paint that wall. And it was such a light bulb moment. I just couldn't believe that. How had I not thought of this before? I had always left things like that to my ex-partner, and I realised, oh, I can paint it. I have the freedom to paint that wall. And I did. I was so excited. I ran down to the shops and I picked out all the paint samples, all different hues of pink, because I thought, well, if I'm going to paint this wall and it's going to be my house, why not paint it pink? Because that's just fun and I can do that. No one's here to tell me not. So I picked my colour and I spent the whole weekend while my son was at his dad's painting that hall. And honestly, it was the most empowering thing I've done. Like, even talking about it makes me smile. I told everyone about it. I was sending pictures. I was like, look at my wall, look what I've done. And it seems so simple. I just painted a wall. But for me, it was, I got to pick that colour. It was my wall that I was painting. And it was the freedom that came along with it that was so, so empowering for me. And it made me realise that whilst, yes, Things had changed my life and a lot of choices have been taken out of my control, but there was still so much freedom on the choices that I could make. And that's exactly what I want to focus on today, helping you recognize that there is freedom in your choices, even when it feels like you're completely trapped in your situation. So before we talk about embracing all the freedoms that come with being a single parent, I want to acknowledge that yes, of course, there are times due to our own unique circumstances as single parents that we can feel like our choices are limited or restricted. You may feel like you are just riding things out and going through the motions of life, waiting until your kids are grown up to feel less trapped. As single parents, we are dealing with being the sole head of our household, taking the full weight of responsibility on our shoulders. Our time, our money, and our emotional capacity can feel really limited as we feel trapped in an endless cycle of cooking, cleaning, work, and school runs. And I'm not for 1 second denying any of these factors being real challenges for single parents. These challenges are 100% real, and it's okay to acknowledge them. Sometimes certain things are out of our control, and accepting that reality is not about dismissing these struggles. Instead, it's about making sure that they don't take over our entire perspective. When we focus only on what we can't change, we end up staying stuck. But when we accept those limitations, we can free up much needed mental space to see what actually is possible. And this is not about toxic positivity or pretending everything is easy breezy. This is all about giving yourself permission to stop fighting against what is outside of your control so that you can focus your energy on what is actually in your control. Now that we've spent time acknowledging that yes, there are certain things in your life that are out of your control, but by accepting this, we can now look at exploring where there is so much freedom for you to do what you want in your life. The first thing is the fact that being a single parent means that you are now the sole head of your household, which, yes, can be extremely daunting and bring a whole host of stressors already mentioned. But it also means your house, your rules. You have the freedom to run your household however you see fit. What you eat, when you decide to do your laundry, how and when your cleaning gets done. You no longer have to fit and mould and negotiate into someone else's ideal of how to run a household, and you have the freedom to run it however you see fit and brings you the most joy. So I want to ask you, are you taking full advantage of this freedom? Look at your habits and routines your household runs by. Are they exactly what you want them to be? Or are you doing things because that was how you did it when you lived with your ex? Or maybe you only do things a certain way because everyone else appears to do it that way, so you do too. One client of mine realised that she continued to do her weekly shop for months on a Sunday and resented that she spent her weekend doing it. And then she realised this was because this was something that she did when she was with her ex. They always did the shop on a Sunday, and there was no reason for her to continue doing it on a Sunday now. In fact, what made way more sense for her was to squeeze it into her lunch break during the week, freeing up her weekend time. So, what are you doing on autopilot that maybe you can tweak to be more aligned with how you really want to run your house? It may feel a bit weird the first few times you do it your way, as though you're breaking some rule, but I promise you, you are not breaking any rules. You are taking back control of every inch of your life that you can. And moving on to the next point, the freedom that you get to parent how you want. When you parent alone, even if you're a co-parent, you still have so much freedom in how you raise your child. Your day is free of those daily compromises with the other parent as to how you want to make parenting choices. You can raise your child in the way that feels right for you, and that can be the most freeing feeling. If you're still finding your feet in this department, I highly recommend you go back and listen to last week's episode, where I did a whole episode all about focusing on being confident in your parenting abilities. It can be hard to switch to parenting alone, and it can take time to build up your confidence. But soon you will realise that you have so much freedom in your parenting choices, and you can choose whatever works best for you and your children. The next thing that you have way more freedom over than you may think is your time. Okay, yes, time is not in abundance for single parents, as we are pulled in every single direction. But here's something to consider. Are you fully using the time that you do have? What about the evenings when your kids are in bed? Or the weekends when you're with your kids and they don't have any extracurricular activities or play dates? Are you being intentional about how you spend that time? Or are you letting it just slip right past you? Like running a household, check in what are you doing on autopilot and start to question, is this the best use of my time? You are fully in control how you spend this time. So what can you do to make the most of it? What do you enjoy doing as a family? What do you enjoy doing when it's just you? Becoming a single parent, it can feel like starting from scratch, figuring out how to spend time and figuring out what you even enjoy. And that's completely normal. Spend some time thinking about what would bring you the most joy and how to start doing that. For me, I found I suddenly had an abundance of time when I separated from my son's dad. And whilst I couldn't leave the house in the evenings when my son was in bed, I could choose how I spent those evenings. And I started being intentional about how I did spend them, making sure it was the best use of my time. So previously, I would have spent the evening mindlessly watching TV, but I started to read more, listen to podcasts, and just got comfortable hanging out with myself and getting to know me again. And when it came to the weekends with my son, I realised we had complete freedom to shape our days however we wanted. No compromising, no negotiating with another adult, just us to do what felt right. Once I realised this, I could approach the weekend with a sense of lightness. We could do what we wanted and not try and do what I thought we should be doing. So I want you to just take a moment now and reflect. What small change could you make to reclaim your time? How can you start using it in a way that actually feels good for you? Because even in the chaos, your time is yours to shape. One of the unexpected benefits of being a single parent is that you have greater control over the emotional atmosphere in your home. Think about it. You no longer have to absorb a partner's bad moods, and you also don't have to constantly adjust your emotional state to maintain harmony with another adult. This means you've got the space to tune into your own emotions and regulate them in ways that feel right for you. Without the immediate influence of a partner's energy, you may become more aware of how you process your emotions, what lifts your moods, what drains you, and what truly helps you feel better when you're struggling. However, I do want to make it very clear that emotional well-being doesn't mean handling everything alone. While learning to self-soothe can be a really valuable skill, we as humans are also wired for connection. Seeking support when needed, whether from friends, family, or even a coach or therapist, is just as important as self-regulation. It's not about choosing between self-reliance and support. Rather, it's just about giving yourself the freedom to recognise and tend to your emotional needs in a way that works for you. I'm not saying you must face your emotions alone, but more think about this as an opportunity to build an emotional toolkit that works for you, one that includes both self-soothing strategies and the ability to reach out for support when it's needed. True emotional freedom comes from knowing that you don't have to do it all alone, and that you have the power to take care of yourself in the ways that feel right for you. One of the greatest perks of being a single parent is the freedom to design your own future. Without the need to negotiate with a partner, you get to create a life that reflects your values and your dreams. You have the power to imagine what your ideal life looks like. Whether it's choosing a career that excites you or planning fun family adventures, every choice is yours to make. The freedom to design your future as a single parent is a powerful benefit that can lead to a much more fulfilling life. By embracing this opportunity, you can create a life that reflects your values and fosters your independence. Of course, this can feel daunting sometimes, but the ability to shape your own future is a remarkable advantage that can inspire both you and your children. And if you are still struggling to see where you have freedom because that sense of feeling stuck is overwhelming, let me walk you through some common single parent scenarios where it can feel like there is just no sense of freedom, and help you see that in fact there are some things that are still in your control even if it doesn't feel that way. You might not have the flexibility that comes with having another parent in your household, but you do have control over how you can structure your days. You might have financial constraints, but you do have the ability to choose what kind of experiences you create in your home for you and your children. You may not have your children all the time due to co-parenting arrangements, but you have the opportunity to make most of the moments you do spend with your children and also make most of the time without your children. You might find that you live in an area that's more convenient for schools and near your children's other parents, but far from your family support. But you can build a local network of friends and neighbours who can step in when you need assistance or even companionship. When you start noticing the choices you do have, your world starts to feel bigger. And from there, you can begin to embrace the freedom that does exist, even if it's in ways that you never really had considered or expected to. Now that we've established that becoming a single parent brings a whole new sense of freedom, let's explore how to fully embrace that freedom. Start by noticing where you do have choices instead of fixating on those limitations. Ask yourself, if I fully embrace my freedom as a single parent, what would I do differently? Now, what is also important here is to acknowledge what might be holding you back. Is it your fear of the unknown? Worry about your finances? Maybe it's the weight of societal expectations, or there could be those voices of doubt in your head telling you that you just can't do this alone. Remember, it is perfectly okay to feel these things. Recognizing them is the first step towards overcoming them. When you feel self-doubt or lack of confidence in your ability, I want you to remember these statements. I am capable of creating the life I want. My choices matter, and I have the power to make them. Every step I take towards embracing my freedom brings me closer to my ideal life. By shifting your focus from what holds you back to what empowers you, you can begin to see the possibilities that lie ahead. Embrace this freedom and take small steps each day to act on it. So what's stopping you from fully embracing your freedom? Challenge those barriers and make the most of all that freedom single parenthood provides you. And remember, you can start small. This isn't about overhauling your life. It's about using each day to recognize the choices that you do have and making the most of them to move towards your ideal life. I never would have imagined the sense of freedom I feel as a single parent, and I hope by listening today, it has shone a light on all the aspects of your life you can now embrace freedom in. The choice really is yours. What are you going to do today to start embracing the full breadth of freedom that comes with single parenthood? Please let me know. Share with me on socials. I can't wait to hear what you're going to do to embrace your freedom today. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Single Parent Reset. You have taken 15 minutes out of your day to do something for you, and that alone is a step in the right direction towards living a life you deserve. If you're interested in working with me one-to-one, please go to my website, solacecoaching.com, for further details. And don't forget to follow my Instagram page @solacecoaching for more insightful content on living a life to be proud of as a single parent. As always, if you find this episode useful, please share with your friends and family. Remember, many single parents may seem like they have it all together, but this could be exactly what they need to help them move forward today.